Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is Abhijit Iyer-Mitra, and we're going to talk about Israel a little bit, and then we'll take your questions. There are lots of questions to be answered, so let's welcome our guest Abhijit Iyer-Mitra. Abhijit, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
May the blessings of Jehovah be upon all you heathen pagans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are blessed indeed to have you on our show. Abhijit, first off, it's now 6 or 7 or probably even more than that days that the Israeli army has been poised to enter Gaza. First they said vacate the northern part and then we are coming, and nothing seems to have happened. What exactly is the game plan in your mind?
Look, if I knew the game plan, I would be a very rich man by now. I don't know what the game plan is. They're just holding off on the ground offensive till Biden's visit ends. But I know for a fact that Biden is going to ask them very tough questions because he feels they haven't thought things through. They're going to go into Gaza and clean out Gaza. He knows what the military plan for Gaza is. But what comes after that? What is the media management plan where thousands of Palestinians died? They've already... things that need to be discussed, and he's going to have those conversations with Netanyahu. Let's see how these conversations go, because I think they're going to be extremely difficult conversations. One second.
Yeah, it was scratchy. No, you're muted. You're muted, my dear man. You're muted. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hear me now?
Yes. Perfect.
You hear me? 1 second. I'll just rejoin.
Yeah. He's going to be rejoining, and if you have not liked this video, kindly do so. We're going to boldly go where even perhaps the Israeli army hasn't gone. So here is Abhijit. Go over to you, Abhijit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Start from the beginning while trying to answer the question. Yeah. Waiting for Biden to leave. Yeah.
So basically, they're waiting for Biden to leave before starting the ground offensive. The problem really is that Biden has some serious questions which are actually very good questions, because I also want the answers to these. I think a lot of Israelis want the answers to these, which is fine. You're going to have a ground campaign. You're going to first clear the north of all the tunnels and all the Hamas hiding areas. Then you're going to move the entire population north and then do the same in the south. And then what? Because there's a whole Hamas and Islamic Jihad and Palestinian splinter group organizations all across the Middle East. What are you going to do with those? Because then they will reform all of these. He wants answers to that. He wants to know, because the Palestinian population is so heavily radicalized, what are you going to do with the continuing radicalization? What is the de-radicalization plan? Because you get rid of Hamas now, what comes and supplants it after that? Right? What happens? What is your plan of dealing with Hezbollah in the meantime? He doesn't know that. So it's a whole bunch of questions that he's going to ask. Until he gets the answer to that, he is not going to give the green light for the ground campaign. And look, it is already producing a lot of tension back home for Biden. Because remember, Biden has two constituencies. The Democrat voting Jew, who's very rich, very urban, who lives in the East Coast and the West Coast. And he has his other huge constituency is Muslims, who are the shock troops, who go out and do all the ancillary BLM rioting and all of that as and when required, the intimidation and all of that as and when required, the victimhood as and when required, etc., who also vote Democrat. Now, two core vote banks have started hating each other. Before, they used to get along for tactical reasons. Now they're no longer willing to get along. What are you going to do about it? What are Ilhan? Tell me something. For the level of slaughter, how much activity have you seen on Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar's Twitter timeline? There was more activity on their Twitter timeline during the abrogation of Article 370 than there has been during the killing of 1,400 Jews and the killing of about 3,000 Palestinians. Why is that? Right? That is going to be really interesting. He needs answers to take back and calibrate domestic strategy, not so much international strategy, because if he does not put some kind of controls on Israel, he's going to lose the Muslim vote bank. If he puts controls on Israel, he's going to lose the Jewish funding and the vote bank, because remember, Jews are 2% of the American population. Muslims are still only 1% of the American population, though very key voters, though, in spite of being 1%. Uh, this is not going to end well for Biden. I think this is going to be the one decision. So he's couching it in terms of, I'm going to ask questions and I want clarity. What he's actually doing is trying to tamper down Netanyahu without actually tampering him down.
Abhijit, you have mentioned two constituencies. The biggest problem that Biden has, the moderate Democrat. They are looking conservative right now. They are looking Republican right now. I think that's where he's going to lose this thing. This is just my 2 cents, because I'm seeing a lot of people looking at horror at the things that Democrats have done thus far. Also, by the way, viewers, I don't know if you have seen this. There was a stand with Israel Day where Hindu Americans came together to express their solidarity with Israel. There's a place called Unity Sculpture in the city of Fremont. That's the place where this whole SB 403 also started and ended. In fact, coincidentally, it was very close to where Aisha Wahab's office was. And there were 100 plus people who were there, and many Israelis who came up to me and talked about the rich cultural traditions that India and Israel shares, and Judaism and Hinduism. So lots of things have happened, and we have to wait and see. I have a feeling that Democrats are going to lose this, not because they have been taking one side or the other here, but the core moderate Democrat is probably going to be looking elsewhere. Maybe they'll abstain. I don't know. Even that is a lost word. Just 2 cents from my side. Abhijit, if you want to add something, go ahead. Otherwise, then we'll go to questions.
No, that's it. That's it for now.
All right. Let's go to the questions, please. We have lots of them to work through. Aditya wants to know, all the key countries have a space warfare division now. Can you please explain a realistic space warfare scenario? Any good literature to read up on this?
See, there's no good literature, but you need to go to the space conferences and read out their declarations every year. A lot of the focus is, on Intel technology being based in the sky, comms technology. So, for example, the GPS on your phone is based from the sky, right? So, how do you deal with that? Once Starlink gets activated, a lot of your internet is also going to be based out of the sky. A lot of your satellite intelligence, your satellite TV, everything is based in the sky, really outer space. And there is the problem of space debris. People don't realize how much junk is up there in space. And what happens is, if you develop anti-satellite weapons can actually change the way we live. People don't realize this. So much of our life today is dependent on satellites. One carefully placed explosion in the atmosphere, in the exosphere, really, can cripple your navigation. It can cripple your Zomato, your Ola, your Uber, your Google Maps, everything. It can even, if you become dependent on satellite internet, it can even crash a satellite. It will destroy your entertainment for you, because your TV will no longer work. Your Geo or Airtel Home TV or Tata DBH?
DBH, direct something, direct to home, DTH.
It won't work. Just one missile. Because remember, when a missile goes and hits a satellite, or it explodes with a lot of shrapnel, what happens with that shrapnel? It hits and destroys a whole load of satellites, which is already happening at a alarming pace. People don't realize this. And they have to go and fix all these things, you see. So there is a need to remove a lot of the old satellites focus on the new satellites. There is talk of bandwidths, like you have spectrum. There is talk of different altitudes for different countries to do different things, or different altitudes for different purposes to do different things. So military will be a certain altitude, civilian will be a certain altitude. These are all proposals that have come out. All these declarations are very interesting reads. And space warfare isn't being spoken about too much, precisely for this reason, because we know how space warfare is going to work. It's going to be a ground-based interceptor anti-satellite missile that goes and um, creates a lot of havoc up there.
Wonderful. Next question, please. Real Cricket wants to know, do you know Meghnerd, Vimoh and Science is Dope YouTube channels? Happy Navratri to both of you. Namaskar.
No, but I shall take a photo of this and I shall go check them out. Thank you very much. I do follow some science channels where they do fantastic experiments and things like that, but I just find those experiments fun. But no, I don't. I shall go find out these channels too. Thank you, Real Cricket.
Next one, TJ, thank you so much. Is it bad to preserve caste as historical identity in connection to our ancestors? Should we eliminate caste or caste discrimination?
I think we should eliminate caste discrimination. Ultimately, in urban industrial societies, it becomes very difficult to maintain caste, which was essentially a job identity marker in a sense, which did lead to endogamy. So once endogamy breaks down, which is to say marriage within the same community over several generations breaks down, uh, caste really serves as a link to your past and maybe individual customs of communities that were unique. Uh, and they can be flexible. So my mom, for example, even though she's Tambram, a lot of the rituals she mostly follows Tambram rituals, but she insists on doing a lot of Bengali things because she believes I should be into that entire Bengali thing. Uh, so for the simple example, for the last 10 days, um, we've been strictly more, about 13 days. We've been without onion or garlic, no meat, no tomato, no potato at home. Okay, it's all been traditional Indian vegetables for the last 10-12 days. But then once the Bengali Navratri started, she told me to go cook niramish mangsher jhol, which is vegetarian mutton curry, which you cook without onion or garlic again, because mutton is an offering to Durga, mutton and fish, but you can't use onion or garlic in it. Strict no. You use dahi instead. You can't even use tomato or potato in it. And you do that. So, it now, for me, that is a caste identity in a sense. It's a regional caste-ish identity because other communities would be eating a lot of meat. But I wouldn't follow, say, a Maharashtrian culture or a Guju culture during this period. I'll be following my own culture. And even there, a caste subculture, which connects me to my past. Okay, so I think caste should become, we need to get rid of caste discrimination. We also need to get rid of endogamy. Uh, but don't get rid of your identity as long as it's not discriminatory. Next.
Next question, please. Kanda Batata wants to know, what is your opinion on the new Vande Bharat Sleeper Trains?
I've only seen AI images. I haven't seen actual images. Has anyone seen actual images? I think they're only AI renders, right? So it's going to be fun. I want to see how Indians maintain it, because Indians don't deserve good things, you see. Anything that's good and nice, we destroy it in no time at all. So the question really is, do Indians deserve it?
Next question, please. Aravind TSY wants to know, sea voter opinion poll in Telangana showing BJP no longer is a main opposition. Even BRS share has slid and INC has been the gainer. What is happening?
Basically, the BJP is completely inactive out there. And our man KCR has been trying to make BJP the principal opposition. It isn't. And INC is gaining ground. The surprising thing is, a lot of BJP walas there told me in Hyderabad that, we're not gaining traction. It's the Congress that's gaining. It's not Congress is gaining traction, but it's more disaffection with KCR, because KCR is almost seen as, despite his best attempts, as quasi BJP. As in, when the BJP is in trouble, he'll actually end up supporting the BJP. So it's a lot of it's been moving to the INC, and this is what the BJP guys are telling me. So I have no idea because I don't know Telangana politics all that well.
I've heard rumors of KCR actually working from his home and not even coming to the secretariat anymore. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
how true
mostly the
that
son.
is.
It's mostly the son apparently doing all the work.
Hmm. Next one, please. Malyaban Bhattacharya wants to know. First question: from a lot of surveys I've seen Brazilians, South Africans, Mexicans have a negative attitude towards Indian. Why is that?
South Africans because of the Gupta thing, and also I can tell you in South Africa, Indians were more racist than the whites. I remember going there just after apartheid. I never heard Boers say the things about black people that I heard Indians say about black people. So that I can tell you. Mexicans, I'm very surprised because the moment they used to find out I'm an Indian from India, in Mexico, I've gotten nothing but royal treatment. Brazilians don't really know and they don't care where you're from really. So if you say India, they'll probably think of you as the Indo. They call the Indo the Native Americans, who they have a very poor opinion about. They won't really know much. Um Mexicans take history and culture very seriously. They're obsessed with being an ancient culture, and they love people from other ancient cultures. They feel they don't get recognized enough for being an ancient culture.
I don't know where the survey got the answers. I mean, I have been to
Yeah,
Brazil, I've been to Mexico. Very friendly people. Very friendly
extremely.
people. Yeah.
Brazil, not so much. Like they're friendly, but they're not culturally knowledgeable at all. They're like, oh, okay. Uh, and the only thing they wanted to really talk about is partying and dancing and whatever this thing. It's very difficult to have a intellectual conversation with a Brazilian. With Mexicans, you can actually sit and talk about history and things. Um, I found South Africa one of the most boring countries I've ever been to, and dangerous.
Next question, please. Vamsi, who blinked first in India versus Canada? I think Canada has blinked first and India is still demanding diplomats to be out, and Canada has already reassigned some of the diplomats.
Reassigned, yes, but we still haven't. Apparently, the PMO really wants India to get tough, and the MEA is not going through with it because, lots of MEA kids want admission in Canada. Next.
Cat's out of the
It's the
bag.
truth. It's the truth. Please never underestimate that. If any of you are into RTIs, I want you to put an RTI on how many kids of people joint secretary and above in the government of India in the center in Delhi have their kids going abroad. And the results will surprise you.
99%. Are you kidding me?
How many of them are on scholarship?
That might be also a very high number.
Yeah.
Ishan Khosla wants to know your opinion on the same-sex marriage verdict. Do you think it can ever get legalized in India?
It will get legalized in about 15, 20 years. It will get legalized. It's gone to the government. The government will have to set up a committee. If the committee doesn't report in 2, 3 years, we'll again approach the Supreme Court to say, boss, committee kya hai? You can't have an indefinite committee. Set a time limit on it. The Supreme Court will then set a time limit. But I have been told by several people in the BJP that some kind of a civil union will be brought in with the UCC when it comes up.
Wonderful. Next question, please. Partha P wants to know, do you see this rise in content against Israel engineered? It seems like they are building up a case to justify what is to come.
Basically, look, they always do this. They always do this, that when they attack Israel, they all get together. There's this whole left-wing control of institutions and the media and this and that, and they generate content against Israel. So they are building up a case. They are building up a case, except there is no what is to come, because Israel is going to thrash them in the short term. Where the Israelis lose it is they don't do long term planning. They think short term success is perpetual, which it is not.
Do you think they'll enforce family planning in Gaza at some
No,
point
they
in
can't do
time?
that. That's very dangerous,
Then,
especially for
then,
a Jew
then
to
there
do
is a
that,
problem right
because
there.
that is what Hitler tried to do to them. Remember, no Jew will ever do that. They don't even enforce family planning for their own people. Israel is the only OECD country that has a TFR of 3, which is to say 3 kids, 3+ kids per household.
Hmm. Next one, please. Sambhav Jain wants to know what incentive does China have in supporting Palestine? Israel has made significant investments in China. What does she hope to gain here?
Causing trouble. Causing trouble. because they are urging the Palestinians. A lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of the rocket designs of what are being used are in fact Chinese rockets. The shoulder-fired rockets, which were used, the shoulder-fired missiles, which were used against Israeli helicopters and things, they did in fact manage to shoot a Israeli helicopter, which nobody was killed. It landed safely and then it burnt down completely. A CH-53. Uh, it was given by China, okay, with modifications, but Chinese design. What she hopes to gain is greater instability, which makes him break a lot of dependence on Americans and gives him a way in. And they are supporting Palestine for exactly this reason, to cause more trouble. Because, look, when you are the revisionist power, you are against the status quo, you first have to break the status quo to revise, right? That's what they do.
Next one,
And,
please. Yeah.
if you can go back to that question, the problem is Israel is no longer transferring technology to China. In the 90s, they transferred a lot of technology to China. They had sanctions placed on them by the Americans. And that crucial technology transfer, it has just stopped. Next.
Next one, please. Ishan Sharma wants to know, Abhijit, your views on the Mahua Moitra thing in LS. Do you see by this the BJP is blackmailing TMC like they have done to AAP, BSP, and have made them irrelevant in national politics and its impact on Lok Sabha 2024?
No, this the TMC has abandoned Mahua. No, nobody is defending Mahua. Apparently, one guy, Niranjan Das or something, put out a tweet, and apparently he was called and told, "This one tweet is enough. Don't delete it because that will raise more questions." Not one single MP of the TMC has come out in support of Mahua. So they will basically, if Mahua becomes a gangrenous arm, they will happily amputate that gangrenous arm. And they will see to it, it does not affect them. The problem with AAP and BSP was institutional, wide-ranging corruption.
Next one, please. Ritu Patil wants to know, I spoke to a girl living in Israel and she is convinced that this was allowed to happen, and now that many countries have come out and said they want Israel, so you think it may be true?
She might be a fringe left-wing. I don't think it was allowed to happen. I think anybody with even a rudimentary knowledge of intelligence will tell you things like this just aren't allowed to happen. Intelligence failures do happen. And the problem is they accumulate over time and they just burst. It's like a pressure cooker, right? Sometimes a pressure cooker will burst if the gasket fails or something like that. Unfortunately, that's the truth. So it's just one of those things where pressure builds up and then boom.
Next one, please. Mr. Lee wants to know, Theodor Herzl in his 1896 book, The Judenstaat, proposed Argentina Palestine as possible homelands. Yes, I've read this. In 1903, even British East Africa was considered. Why do Brits finally fix on Palestine? Because that's where they're originally from, right?
Yeah, look, it was the most convenient after the First World War. Remember, sorry, I'm going to switch off the fan. In the First World War, what happened was that in the First World War, Argentina wasn't up for the grabs. Africa wasn't up for the grabs. But what was up for the grabs was the former Ottoman vilayets, which constituted the old lands of Judah and Samaria and Palestine. Judah, Samaria, and Israel. Okay, the northern kingdom was called Israel. The southern kingdom was called Judah. Israel, the northern kingdom, was always the more developed one. Judah was always the more semi-barbarous one. But because Israel was captured by the Assyrians and wiped out, Judah ended up writing the Bible. And so they always viewed the kings of Judah as more righteous and good than the kings of Israel. And because the Ottoman Empire had collapsed and this land suddenly made itself available after the First World War, it was then made into, it was the most easy one to get. It was the most practical one to get. And it was also traditionally their homeland.
November 29th, 1947. That's the day UN resolved to create Israel, and 900,000 Palestinians, it is believed.
See, it's not just this resolution to create Israel wasn't just in the UN. It was there in the San Remo Accords, which were signed in 1920 after the defeat of the Axis powers. There was no such thing as Palestine at that point of time. I want you all to go to the Wikipedia link on, I'll tell you what the link is. Uh, what's it called? It should be the administrative. Go look at the administrative divisions of uh, Palestine of the Ottoman Empire. You will see that there was never a thing called Palestine at all. There was never a Palestinian identity. There wasn't a Syrian identity. There wasn't a Jordanian identity. In fact, Syria was split into Aleppo and Damascus and Hama. And Hama kind of hated both of them because it was the middle power, but the two superpowers were Aleppo and Damascus, and they hated each other. They've always been fighting each other for the last 1,500 years. And the Syrian civil war is, in fact, the latest manifestation of the Aleppo versus Damascus hatred, which has existed in the longest possible period of time. And all of this, the colonial creation is the very notion of a Palestinian, the notion of a Jordanian, the notion of a Syrian, and the notion of a Lebanese. Because these were created by the French and the Brits after they broke the many tens of Levantine provinces and combined them as suited them into Syria and Transjordan. Syria was broken up into Syria and Lebanon to create an artificial Christian majority in Lebanon. And Transjordan was broken up into Palestine and Jordan to create an artificial Jewish, and it wasn't even Jewish. So, this, the notion of Palestine doesn't even exist till 1947. It's completely concocted identity. Let me just ask you a very simple question that Daniel Boardman asked me. Do you know a prime minister of Palestine before Yasser Arafat? Tell me one prime minister of Palestine. Tell me one governor. Tell me one Ottoman governor of Palestine. Tell me one historical figure who's described as a Palestinian. Was there ever a Palestinian origin dynasty? Was there ever a Palestinian origin king? Was there ever a Palestinian governor? Was there a governor of Palestine? Was there ever a king of Palestine? How do you not have any of these and you still believe blindly that there is something called a Palestine? It is the notion of Palestine, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon that are colonial constructs. Remember that. Next.
Next one, please. Harvey Specter wants to know, has Israel really bombed the hospital where 500 people died? I don't know which side to believe.
Go read my thread. I've done a whole big thread on this. It's very clearly Gaza that's done it. Hamas, well, they're claiming Palestinian Islamic Jihad who's done it. Till last night, I wasn't willing to commit, just like I've been saying since day one. Apparently, Shri, somebody unsubscribed from the channel because I said that entire 40 baby story was true and have been writing nasty things about me on Twitter. But I stand by it that I think I've been proven right when I said that 40 babies beheaded simply wasn't true. In this case, I went on saying I'm not making up my mind, and I made up my mind only in the morning when I saw an Arab journalist on Instagram post a reel which showed the impact site during daytime, right? Because all the interception videos that you see rockets go up and then you see an explosion. You don't see the rocket actually fall down and explode. Okay, but this morning, I am convinced because what you see is several different things which I've explained in that thread, which is a crater that is too small. There is too much burning and not enough destruction. And the burning is consistent with a small explosion followed by a significant ignition of the rocket fuel, which caused most of the burning and killed off most of the people who were hiding in a little green area at the back.
Next one, please. Pius Gokhale, thank you so much. We are the only country in Asia, Africa to strongly support Israel. You think PMO should have been more balanced with respect to Palestine?
we are the only country in Asia, Africa to strongly support Israel, correct? Why should the PMO have been more balanced? What is the balance? Pius, if I come and kill you, should the Prime Minister say, oh, I condemn the killing of Pius and I sympathize with Abhijit for killing you? No, no. Uh, when somebody does something bad, you don't condemn both the victim uh, uh, and the perpetrator. So no, he's done the absolute right thing. And Jaishankar has not gone anti-West. If anything, it is very clear with the Prime Minister's now 3 tweets on Palestine, 2 condemning the attack on Israel, and a very carefully worded tweet on the Gaza hospital, where he has refused to name Israel and he has refused to acknowledge the existence of Palestine.
Next one, please. Venkat Anirudh, thank you so much. AIM Sriji, what are the long-term solutions for Hindus to counter demographic changes, proselytization, and love jihad?
I've done a whole long podcast on this, 2 hours long. It's called The End of Hinduism. Please go check it out. It's too long to be discussed out here.
Next one, please. Bharati Watts wants to know, what are the steps our government should take to avoid these kinds of attacks?
What kind of attacks, Bharati? Against
like
whom?
the Hamas thing.
Look, it was uniquely possible out there because they're a very small country. Gaza is, it's 1/4 the size of Delhi, and not Delhi NCR, just the city limits of Delhi. Okay, it's basically South Delhi. So if you add South X Defense Colony, inner and outer ring road ka strip le lo, and extend it all the way from the Yamuna front to the Gurgaon border. That is Gaza. That's it. That is Gaza. Even the distance between inner and ring road in some parts is the width of Gaza. Okay. And Israel is half or less than half the size of Kerala. These are tiny, tiny places. So they could go and kill a lot of people very, very quickly. Our borders are very deep. We don't have population centers so close to the border, which is why, and if they come in large numbers like 2,000-3,000, it will automatically be picked up, because Bombay was a similar kind of an attack. But they were only able to kill about 200-300 people, which is still a lot, but it is what it is. So, it's fine. I mean, size is our defense against this particular kind of an attack. Next.
Thought provocateur, thank you so much. Was Pakistan training Hamas terrorists in Dera Ghazi Khan how to use a nuke practically with a miniature pav kilo ka bomb, which went horribly wrong?
I don't know what the second part of that question is. Pakistan trains everyone, but that photo is a fake photo. It's an old photo. It's an unverified photo. I've seen it on the internet. It's not accurate. Pakistan runs a menagerie. Anybody could be training there. We don't know.
Next one, please. Thank you, Rahul Lakshmanan. If Israel wants to wipe out Hamas, will they face the same problems as the US in Afghanistan in terms of setting up a new government in Gaza?
Yes, occupation control, even of a tiny area like that with a highly radicalized population, is very, very, very difficult. Okay, they will succeed, I believe, in wiping out Gaza, but controlling Gaza becomes much, much more problematic. Okay, because those children, it is like, children who keep coming and doing patrav, stone pelting in Kashmir. What are you going to do when children hit stones at you on a daily basis? Where you then start shooting kids who are used as human shields, or women who are used as human shields, because 50%, 44% of the Gaza's population is kids under 14 years of age. What are you going to do? So it is going to be very, very difficult. I don't think they're going to set up a new government in Gaza. It is going to be an occupation authority, COGAT. You can go follow COGAT. It's COGATT. It is the occupation authority for. It is a bureaucracy and a military civil bureaucracy set up for occupation management.
Next one, please. Thank you, 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪. After 30 years of unification, why East Germany is still poor and racist? Why are Germans rude, unfriendly compared to Italians and French?
I've never felt that, Archa. I mean, I'm surprised you felt it. but I've never felt it. East Germany, I found, is quite poor. I don't like going to East Germany, even though they have had a much more significant investment. In fact, infrastructure in East Germany is better than in West Germany, because West Germany poured all its surpluses into building new infrastructure in East Germany. East Germany came with all the baggage of communism and a very xenophobic upbringing of outsiders. In spite of what communists tell you in public, they are actually extremely xenophobic in private, which continues to this day. But remember, Berlin has a per capita income either half or even less than one third. It's half of Munich, less than half of Munich, and less than one third of that Dusseldorf triangle, Dusseldorf, Cologne, and all those places. Those are immensely rich cities. They have a per capita income of about $90,000. Berlin's about 30,000. Munich is around 72, 73,000 the last I checked, which would have been 2, 3 years back, but it would still continue. There are massive income differences. Berlin is a really nasty, crappy, dirty, poor city, which makes things a lot worse, right? So that's the main reason. Next.
Next question, please. Guts the Black Swordsman wants to know, with the extensive drone usage in Ukraine and Israel, do our forces have any plan to counter such tactics, or will our men be sitting ducks in future conflicts?
Israel didn't plan for these kind of chota drones that they saw in Ukraine. They should have. They had a whole year to plan for these small DJI and Parrot professional photography drones being used. They did not, and they paid a very heavy price on the 7th and 8th of October. Our forces still do not have any plans. We're trying for offensive, but we don't have defensive drone. There's certainly no planning for the tanks or armor or light armor and things like that on what can be done with these drones. No. I hope they're thinking about it, but as far as I know, they're not. You can tell
Next
from all
one,
of the
please.
contracts, yeah, which they're not. Next.
Thank you, Basudev Maharana. What is the headphone you are wearing? Best noise cancelling headphones in your view, and future of Hindus? No, let's just take that one. Headphones.
Headphones, I'm using the Apple AirPods Max. I love them. They're fantastic. I've had Sennheisers in the past, which I've also loved a lot. I go in for weird earphones. See, don't go in for a brand. You want to go abroad and test out these earphones, because for me, I need a very specific kind of earphone for listening to opera at high volume. Opera is much more taxing on the earphone than pop, rock, all of that kind of music, because the highs are very high, the lows are very low, significant bass, significant highs. These a normal speaker will actually screech. So it's I go. I tried the AirPod Max. It worked very well for me, and that's why I ordered it. Before this, I had Sennheiser, which was also very good. But you have to specifically ask which are the models for. Don't just go by it shows 22,000 hertz down to 50 hertz. 50 hertz is bass, 22,000 hertz is treble. Don't go by that. You literally have to listen to it and then buy it.
Next one, please.
Depending on your taste in music. Santosh.
Santosh, thank you so much. Why did cyber attack on Israeli borders on 10? Who did the cyber attack on Israeli borders on 10/7?
It wasn't a cyber attack. It was an actual physical attack. It was, like I said, it was drones, DJI, Parrot, God knows what, but you know what I'm talking about. Those kind of drones, which surprisingly don't show up as a threat on Israeli sensors, right? And what we realized from the Ukraine war is you don't need heavy warheads to take out things. A 2 kilo warhead, a 2 kilo mortar can take out a very powerful tank, right? A 100-gram explosive can take out. This time, Diwali is coming. And if any of you are going to be naughty and purchase Lakshmi bomb or atom bomb, take the atom bomb. If you've got an old phone that you can dispose of, I want you to use sellotape and stick it onto the phone and ignite the atom bomb. Okay, it will destroy that phone. It may not cause destruction on the outside that much, but the shock wave from it will completely crush and melt the phone on the inside. And that is what happens with all this border infrastructure. They expected that these guys will come and shoot, so the other three, four sensors will anyway pick it up. It did not, because they targeted all of them at the same time, and they used slightly heavier, say 100 gram, 200-gram bombs to target quarter kilo bombs to target the machine gun emplacements, remote controlled machine gun emplacements. So they removed all the surveillance at the same time. They removed all the machine guns at the same time. Then when the light armored vehicles came, they used about half a kilo warheads to destroy those. And then when the heavy tanks came, they used the heavier thing to land a drone on top of it and blow it up. And not land, I mean, it was dropped from about 10, 12 feet away. And they should have anticipated these tactics, because we saw all of them used in Ukraine. Next.
Next one, please. Thank you, Aditya Thakur. Abhijit, how the hell does the left get to direct the narrative? I see it all the time. Right wing shows solidarity for some days and then the left just takes over.
I keep telling you this, Aditya. It's, you know what Lenin used to say, every idea is worth 1,000 pages of theory. They just completely saturate you. So if you look up anything, 99% of it will be by leftists and only 1% will be by rightists. So by normatively, the leftist narrative becomes the narrative. It becomes the norm on which everything else is built. They're very good at bullshitting and concocting jargon. Next.
Next one, please. Thank you, Rutvik. It's center blocking Starlink in India.
And sorry, to answer, yeah, go back to the previous one. The second part of that question was the right, actually, people have jobs. We have to go back to our jobs. The left don't have jobs. They can just keep doing this all day. In fact, this is their job, to be jobless. So we can just keep doing it, what we call in Tamil, vela vetti illadhavan. How do you translate vela vetti illadhavan? I mean, there's no exact translation into English, no? Or
Kaam kaaj nahi hai.
But you know, it's more than that. It's vetti. Vetti is
unemployables. The unemployables.
Vetti has a very different. It's more than just.
Vetti is actually somebody like a guy who can cut through, to graft on agricultural fields and things like that.
Yeah, but it's a derogatory word. But anyway, look, kaam kaaj ke nahi hai, basically. That's the thing.
Next. Thank you, Rutvik. Is center blocking Starlink in India? How much control does the MIC have over it, considering it came out of a defense initiative? Brilliant pebbles.
I don't know. I don't know if they're blocking it or not. I'm sorry, I haven't chased that up. Next
one, please. Thank you, Kapesh Verma. Why we feel the past was better or future is worse?
It is classic in all pre-industrial societies. Because your life is such a grind, you look back to this golden age. That changes in industrial societies. They no longer look back to the past for validation. This is a known sociological phenomenon. And the future will always be better in an industrial country, and it'll always be something to worry about and fear, because you don't know if your children are going to look after you. You don't know if your children are even going to survive. You don't know what disease is going to come. What if your land gets taken away? What if you're all thrown out onto the streets tomorrow? Which, because there you have a social welfare system, it'll never get too bad. You're never going to die of hunger. You're never going to die of thirst. You're not going to be abandoned on the road, etc., etc. So it's a very well-known phenomenon, and it makes society more productive that way. Next.
Chaitanya wants to know which fifth generation fighter is better, Rapport 22 or Chengdu J-20?
What is Rapport?
I don't know. No idea.
I've never heard of a Rapport. Oh, Raptor.
Okay.
अबे यार ठीक से तो लिखा क्या करो यार. Look, Chengdu is not really a fifth generation. Just because it looks like that on the outside, it is not a fifth generation. But even the Raptor, look, the Raptor has lots of things that are fantastic about it. It's stealthier than the F-35 and all of that, though the F-35 has much more advanced electronics, some at least, most, and the F-22 can carry more ammo, but only air-to-air, because the doctrine behind it was not a pound for air-to-ground. But the problem with the Raptor is For every hour it spends up in the air, it needs to spend anywhere between 24 to 30 hours of maintenance. That is an unsustainable ratio. It just can't be done. And that's been improved vastly with the F-35, which people don't realize. It's still not as good as a previous generation fighter, but it's still better way better than the Raptor. The Raptor is a nightmare. Huh? You shouldn't buy it. Next.
30 seconds per answer, please. Thank you, Dr. MPC. Namaste, RSS. Can a modification to the trophy or windbreaker in Markava tanks to shoot upwards for drone drop munitions possible?
Yes, theoretically, but the problem you see here is if it's on top, it's only looking on top. How does it look at 90 degrees, 90 degrees, or depress that even more to, how does it look at 45 degrees? Or depress that even more to 10, 15 degrees? That is where the problem lies. And then the reaction time, how do you shoot like this? Because by the time the top fly ammunition is already over you, it's too late. The It's too close and the shock waves anyway go down. So it is doable, yes. Is it solvable? Yes. But it will involve a 2 to 3 year reworking of the system.
Next one, please. Thank you, Gurkha Sunil. After Hamas could be mamas, but real reason namas.
Okay.
He's just playing with letters.
Okay.
Raghava B, which entities have benefited from the Ukraine war and what's their model? Are they trying to scale war now since their model is lucrative?
Possibly. My biggest suspicion is that the person behind this is Russia. The kind of sophistication we've seen, this is not Iranian, this is way over Iranian sophistication. This is way over Syrian, Hezbollah, Lebanese sophistication. Qatar to chhod hi do. Qatar has no capability to pull off something like this. They have the money, but not the capability. This is something very, very classically Russian. The surprise element, everything is Russian. And Russia has a lot to gain because now you've imposed a Ukraine or Israel binary on the West. They can't afford to keep supplying everybody with the same smart ammunitions. Okay, Russia is a big beneficiary. Iran, I'm not sure is a beneficiary. They seem to think they're a beneficiary, but I'm not too sure they are, because this might go south for Iran, but they might use some attacks. They might attack Israel, and then in the counterattack, they'll claim nobody helped them, and they'll go nuclear. I think that is one of the possible outcome vectors of this. And the most lucrative that it's been for is the Hamas leadership itself, because they're extremely rich, they're extremely corrupt, they don't live in Gaza, they don't have to pick up the tab for what happens in Gaza. And the other big gainers of all of this are the peace and development NGOs that will come into Gaza after this.
Next question, please. Thank you, Raghav, for your generous donation. Anshuman Singh wants to know, will Jews support Republican this election?
I don't know. Because they're extremely against identity politics, but then they're completely blind to Democrat identity politics, which is radical Islam. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know how this Muslim Jew split is going to affect the Democrat Party. We have to see the dynamics of it. It's still too early.
Anshuman, the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, is a Jew, and so is Bernie Sanders, progressive leader. So this is a very tightly knit thing with Democrats. I have to wait and see. We have to wait and see what happens on the other side. Next one, please. Manish Jain, thank you so much. What's your view on Indians supporting Israel on X and why it has rattled Al Jazeera?
Because it's changing the complete dynamic. Before, they used to saturate with their online troops who were vetties, basically jobless guys. But there are more jobless guys in India, you see. So for every tweet supporting Palestine by a jobless lefty in the West, there are 3-4 tweets by jobless Indians supporting Israel in the East, which is completely neutralize that entire equation of saturation. Saturate with information, they can no longer saturate you with information. That is why Al Jazeera is upset.
Next one, please. The Indic gal, thank you so much. There are definite similarities between the Hindu god Brahma and his consort Saraswati, the Jewish Abraham and Sarai. Coincidence?
No, not really. Just because they're husband and wife doesn't make them that way.
Well, the Saraswati
Shiva and
chakra has.
Parvati are also no. The Shiva and Parvati are also the same. Vishnu and Lakshmi are also the same. No, every husband and wife couple are the same. I haven't seen any such this thing. And Abraham and Sarah are not uh, uh, gods. They are human beings. They're not. They
Next,
have zero divine powers. Next.
next one, please. Thank you, Vikas Mudikonda. Ancient American culture and lifestyle had many Hindu influence. Did it have any Hindu influence?
Zero. None.
I disagree, but let's move on. There are a lot of questions to answer. Next one.
No. Look, all pagan religions will be very similar in a way, but Hindu influence, no, zero. And they aren't even Indians in that sense. They are more an offshoot of Mongoloid peoples.
Next one, please. Abhinav, thank you so much. What is the extent of nuclear threat to Israel in the immediate future, either with actual nuclear weapons or the dirty bombs smuggled from Pakistan/Iran?
Look, this notion that just because a Muslim country has a bomb, it's going to lend it to other people, you really need to get over this, Abhinav. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. Pakistan will never give its bombs. One of the reasons that Saudi Arabia has given up on Pakistan is because it realized after a point that no matter how bankrupt Pakistan gets, those nuclear bombs will never be given to Saudi Arabia, because then Pakistan will have no, Saudi Arabia will have no value left for Pakistan if it's handed over. Right? My value to Shri is as long as he keeps promising me a Ferrari. The moment he hands me the Ferrari over, I can dump him, no? It's like that. It's like
Next
that.
one, please.
I'm going to give anything. Next.
Thank you, Siddharth Rao. What's with the feeling? What's with the falling? Hold on, what happened? What's with the falling Malay college enrollments in male college enrollments in USA? The high earning degrees STEM are overwhelmingly male. Is this blown out of proportion?
I don't know. I haven't looked at this, Siddharth, but this is something we've seen in a lot of places. But in the UAE, it's the reverse. It's actually STEM is overwhelmingly female. You're saying STEM is, I haven't looked at this. I'm sorry, Siddharth. I've only been tracking these in the Middle East. I haven't been tracking it in America at all. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
Siddharth, there are not enough jobs for STEM graduates because most of the manufacturing, engineering, all that stuff has moved outside of the United States. What are they going to do? Next one, please. Mr. Lee has been a member for 32 months. AIM Brits always say India was never a nation.
In the European definition of a nation. But what is a nation? It's an imagined identity. I can make up any definition and it makes me a nation, full stop. So the Palestinians may not have been a nation, but they've imagined a nationhood for themselves, which they may not have been a nation before, but they are mentally a nation today. Right? This is a very stupid idea, because we already always had a sense of cultural unity, the way Europe always had a sense of cultural unity. They knew what European is and they knew what non-European is. Ottomans were, even though they held on to large parts of Europe, they were never considered European by any of the Europeans. No European nobility would marry amongst each other. A Protestant would marry Catholic would marry Russian Orthodox would marry Protestant, but they would never marry a Muslim. They knew what was European and what was not European. We also knew that, okay? Identity is defined by substance, what connects us, and salience, what makes us different from others. We always had that up to a point, socially at least, if not militarily. And so it's a fundamentally wrong assessment. It's an old assessment.
Next one, please. Thank you, Sid. Israel should develop Gaza Strip to be like Vegas.
No, they shouldn't. They tried that. In fact, a lot of the trouble came about precisely because they were developing Gaza. A lot of the pushback against Modi is because he's giving toilets and jobs and proper educations to Sunni Muslims, because it threatens the feudal power structures that Sunni Muslims have in India, which is very similar to the Sunni power structures that exist out there. The more you develop, the more social tension it produces, the more riots it produces, because the feudal elites want to control. Next.
Next one, please. Again, 𝙒𝙗𝙤𝙬, thank you so much. Was Gandhi a good man? His preachings have only caused harm to India and whoever adopts them. Does Modi? Next one, please. Just go to that one first.
No, I really think he was a very rotten human being, but he did have one genius idea, which was the use of civil disobedience. He was a bad negotiator, he was a bad planner, he was a bad strategist. He was a very good hypocrite, and he was a very good at coming up with this. Honestly, non-violence and civil disobedience was genius. Against a country that believes in the rule of law, it was the best weapon to be used. The Palestinians should learn. If they adopted those methods, they would go very far. The problem is they never do. They can't resist violence. Next.
Karthikeya Pant, thank you so much. Why do you think that people will give up privileges, that is reservation, as the economic pie grows?
Give up privileges as the economic
pie.
They stop caring about it. You defend it when it's very dear to you. Okay, your computer is very dear to you because it's expensive, and so you won't like anybody plucking it from you. But the rose growing in your garden, if somebody comes and takes it, you're not really too concerned. You get irritated, but you're not going to do much. But if somebody comes and takes your computer, you're going to, and if you're going to get whatever education you want, it stops becoming an issue.
Next question, please. Prashi Prash wants to know, thank you so much. Will Abhijit get married if civil union and gay marriages become legal? He should have kids. We need more Abhijits to guide future generations.
No, I won't. Very simply because there's nobody, and I'm not a person. I'm much more compatible with dogs, cats, and crows, and snakes than I am with human beings. I really love having dogs and cats and feeding the crows and things like that. I find human beings very irritating for more than about 3-4 hours a day. I'm a complete misanthrope.
Next one. No, you're not.
I hate kids.
There's an emergency alert. Siddharth Rao, thank you so much. Is Ireland's per capita completely a reflection of the corporations based there? What kind of country is Ireland in reality? HDI and health.
Look, I've only been in Ireland for 2 days and I got bored so stiff I had to leave. Like everybody's like, let's drive around. It's green. Yeah, it's green. And then what? There's nothing to see. Okay, you can have oysters and beer. Fantastic. And then what? So I really don't know much about Ireland, Siddharth. I'm very sorry, but it's just one of those places which I find so completely uninteresting. I've never bothered reading up about it or even bothering to discover it, because it is rich, but it is kind of irrelevant in international politics, and its economy is irrelevant. Next.
Thank you so much. And we have still far too many questions, and I think we would like to call it a show now. Abhijit has been going non-stop for I don't know how many hours, so I would like to give him a break from my side. Abhijit, take care, my friend, and I will see you again very soon, and hopefully you guys can catch up with the backlogs. Namaskar.
I just wanted to point out that he dead named me, which is a punishable crime in America. My name is Rabbi Shmuley Schlumpenberg, and he keeps calling me Abhijit. Thank you.
For today, yes. My friend's name is Abhijit, though.